Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm Jacqueline, and today I have a guest who is Elina, and I'm going to introduce you to her, and we're going to do a little mini interview. So this right here is Elina Csapo. She's 18 years old from New Jersey, and she has been diagnosed with childhood apraxia of speech and spent her recent years advocating for this disability, as well as other hidden disabilities. She is the founder of Young Able Voices, which is a place where she holds weekly Zoom chats with people who have hidden disabilities to connect and feel less alone. So welcome, Elina. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me. So happy to be here.
Yeah, this is super exciting for both of us, just because I don't think there's like a lot of young individuals advocating for disabilities. Not that I see too much, so I really am glad that we can have this conversation today.
Me too.
I guess let's just dive right into it. Can you please describe what childhood apraxia of speech is and how it impacts you, as well as what age you were diagnosed? And I'm happy to repeat that.
Yeah. I was diagnosed with childhood apraxia of speech, CAS for short,
Mhm.
at the age of 4. So when I meet new people, this is how I explain childhood apraxia of speech to people. It's a neurological speech disorder. So it means that the connection between my brain and mouth doesn't always connect. So words or sounds can come out wrong. Um, it has impacted my life in so many different ways. When I was very young, I was only about 10% understandable. In fourth grade, I was about 65% understandable. So
Mhm.
making friends at a young age was definitely a challenge. And it's having childhood practice, it's like you know what you want to say, but you just can't get out. So sometimes the only person who knows what you really want to say is you. Yeah. It definitely can sometimes be hard to sing with friends, especially Hamilton.
Yeah.
But throughout my life, practice has impacted me in different ways, and each time that I feel I have learned a new amazing life lesson and has gained a gift somehow from it. So
I totally agree with like the part where it's like super frustrating, but at the same time, like you just mentioned, like you can learn from it and grow. So I love how you said that. And I just want to say like thank you so much for being vulnerable today because I know that it can be a little bit challenging to open up, especially like we're new to each other, but I just really do appreciate that. And it's really important to learn different disabilities. So I'm having a great time just learning about a new thing. So I love that. How did you get started with your advocacy journey, and what was it that made you realize that you can be the person to create change?
okay, I will tell you the medium version of this
Yeah,
story.
yeah.
So one of the biggest goals and one of the biggest illusions with having childhood apraxia speaks is graduating speaks class. So when you're in school, I had speech therapy in school and private speech therapy. But in
Okay.
school, every year I see people graduating speech. And that gave me the hope that one day I will be graduating speech.
Oh,
And so that was one of my biggest goals in life. But the day I graduate speech, and the day that it would happen, I had this vision that there would be banners, balloons, cake, and all my problems would be solved with apraxia. I was a bit naive, I will admit that. But a week before COVID, but what I've been waiting for I feel like my whole life finally came. I was done speech. However, I never expected not going into high school with speech. And but who am I to argue with the experts? But so near the end of my freshman year, I was struggling with speech again. And so I went back to one of my old SLPs, and she explained to me, like, Elina, you are going to always have this challenge. There's no graduating from this. And that was a bit of a shock to me. And I was also having some new difficulties with my speaks at the time too. So I wanted to find a place where I could communicate this to. And also in school, I had other people with me in speech therapy, and it was a place where I felt safe, where I could be myself. And so I was also missing that community. And I knew my mom was a part of some support groups on Facebook. So I'm like, well, if there's support groups for parents, I'm sure there's support groups for kids and teens, the ones who's actually going through this type of stuff. Could not find anything.
Yeah.
And so during my sophomore year, I wrote a piece to about my apraxia to get some of my frustrations out.
Of course.
And so near the end of my sophomore year, I was getting ready for my first date. And I realized I could not say my date's name. It had
Oh,
two
no. Oh my,
R's in it.
yeah. Oh my
And
God.
R's are nemesis with Cass. Like,
Yeah. Oh no.
so I called up my speech therapist and we practiced his name for like 10 minutes. It was still a 50-50 shot if I was going to get his name right. Yeah. But as a thank you, my mom sent her the piece I wrote about apraxia. Then she sent it to her colleague. Then her colleague sent it to a teacher at my school.
Yeah.
And then during my date, I get an email from this teacher who I have never had any interactions with before, wanting to have lunch with me because her 4-year-old just got diagnosed with CAS. And she wanted to know what her daughter's future might look like.
Okay.
So after that conversation, that Monday, I realized is that there has to be a place where kids and teens can connect to know that their future is bright. And so that summer, I created the website for Young Able Voices, and then I started the weekly chats.
Yeah, that is so brilliant. Oh my goodness. I want to like the very first part where like you were hoping for this magical like I don't know awakening like it's
Yeah,
suddenly gonna be like not such a big deal in your life like childhood apraxia of speech like I think I was very similar to you in that sense because when you're young like for learning disabilities like I have dyslexia and dyscalculia you kind of know that you have it your whole life but you're like oh like it really so at some point has to get better right and so then I guess like yeah, when you continue on and there's like little bumps in the road and you keep going, like I think it can be slightly can set you back a little bit and you're like, what? Like I thought it was gonna be so much better. So I agree in that sense where it can be like a little bit difficult knowing that it will impact you and continue to impact you, but you just have to find like ways to help yourself. And then that story about your date is so funny. Oh my goodness. You must have been stressing so much. I think I totally would too.
I was like, I can't say "Hey, dude" all night.
No, yeah.
And now he and we laugh at it. Because I asked, "Hey, can I share the story?"
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
No, I love how you like ended up creating that though because or like sorry, creating Young Able Voices because it is so necessary to have other people similar age group too that like you can totally connect with. And I was very, very similar to you in the sense that you said you looked online and there was like nothing to be found. That was my same exact story for learning disabilities. I was looking at YouTube and Instagram and TikTok and I'm like, what? There's like no place of anyone discussing it openly. So I'm glad that you and I have like kind of paved the way slowly to see that change. And I think I don't know if you agree with this, but I definitely am seeing a little bit more on social media of these types of groups
yeah,
happening. Have you realized that?
yes, I have, and it's just amazing thing.
I feel like
I
it was slightly a shift maybe during like COVID times. I don't know. That's what I thought too.
yeah, I also during that time I also was worried about my future as well.
Yeah,
So 'cause I was like, I don't. There's not like how you're little and you look up to celebrities. There's
absolutely.
celebrities that openly talk about their
Mhm.
hidden disabilities.
Yeah.
So I never met someone older than me who
Mhm.
had passed. And I was very nervous at that age. Like, how am I going to get a job where I get discriminated? What if I mess up on an interview? And I was just very nervous. What would my future look like? How and about college and stuff. And so even I who would like just like that parent who was nervous about their daughter's future, I was still nervous. And just I think this the weekly test really helps so you're not alone in your struggles. So
Yeah, I do have actually a question that ties in perfectly, which is how has it been hosting these weekly chats about hidden disabilities and have you learned anything from your participants?
oh my gosh, it's been a wonderful journey. I have learned so much, especially in the beginning, the first year of Young Able Voices. I learned like different awareness months. I learned about Hidden Disability Week on October.
Yeah, I
I
love
learned yeah, I learned about this month is I think Disability
yeah,
month,
Disability Pride Month. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Disability Pride Month. Yeah, and so learning those types of stuff. I also questions have come up throughout the years with Young Able Boy through the weekly chats on different topics and stuff. And the recent one is when so I in the last few months, I partnered up with Apraxia Kids. They are the #1 nonprofit for kids with the apraxia, and they help parents go through the process. And so I host weekly chats on their behalf. And our most recent topic was a girl was talking about she was getting how she was told that she was done with speech in
Okay.
school, and she was only 8%. And she's like, I want to be 90 or 95%. I don't
Mhm,
want to 8%. And so
mhm.
that has been a recent topic in a recent pattern I have seen, because I was graduated and I knew I wasn't done. That I
Yeah.
don't know what percentage I was, but I wasn't done. And so that's some and so apparently school there's a certain mark that they want you to get to. They don't care if you're 100 or 90%. You
Oh,
just have to get past the regular or whatever this checkpoint, and then they kind of just like bye bye.
dismiss you. Yeah. Oh no. That's
Yeah,
really yeah. That's super cool though that you are partnered with, you said Apraxia Kids, is that what it's called?
apraxia kids. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's very neat. What are like the ages of people who come on to have these chats with you?
So with Young Able Voices, I have between 9 to like 19-year-olds, and then with the apraxia chats, it's from 11 to 19.
Super cool. Okay. You don't really have, do like ever parents sit in on these chats or not really?
Oh yeah, I'm just so many parents sit on. I encourage them to listen in the back if they want to, but just don't jump in or say anything, as this is the kids and teens
Yeah.
time to chat. Always encourage them to please reach out to me if they have any concerns or questions or any ideas for a weekly chat. So yeah.
Yeah, where do you come up with the ideas? Just like in your day-to-day life, or do you have other people? You kind of said like other people can talk to you about it, but how does that process go?
For the longest time, it's really comes day to day. Like each week, I'm like, oh wow, I'm experiencing this, or I
Mhm.
go up of what we recently talked in the last chat. Like something popped up, and I'm like, I want to explore more into this topic. But because I'm not in school right now, I'm really relying on like the last weekly chat, seeing
Yeah,
if there's anything we talked about that we want to expand more, or if they have any ideas and stuff.
I love that. Yeah, it's really great that you take in feedback, and so it feels more of like a really tight-knit community. I think that's so awesome, very important to have. What has been your most memorable moments advocating for hidden disabilities and childhood apraxia of speech?
It is two,
Yeah, yeah.
but it's more than two, but two I want.
Yeah, let me know. I'm interested.
So last year, August, I went on this Zoom call to speak at this camp called Friendship Journey, and they do this online virtual camp. And I spoke with all these kids with all these different hidden disabilities, or physical disabilities as well. And just seeing them, like, I did like a 40-minute presentation, and the questions they had to me, like, I didn't really realize the impact I had
Yeah.
until Zoom
Oh my
call.
goodness.
I was like they made me tear up a bit, and then last year I had the privilege of being the keynote and closing speaker at the national Apraxia National Conference. And going to that conference really opened my eyes to the importance of really spreading awareness on hidden disabilities more. So I decided during October, during Hidden Disability Week, to host a summit last year. Well,
Whoa.
this previous school year. And I had a 2-day bake sale that was part of the summit, and each bake sale had a hidden disability on it.
Oh
And
my,
all the disabilities were people at our school had them. And so when I told people that, their
yeah,
minds were blown. They're like, I would have never known someone had this.
yeah.
And it started up a lot of conversations. And even one of my friends that I closest friends at the time was like in shock on some of hidden disabilities. And they're
Mhm.
like, I didn't even know you had a hidden disability.
Oh my gosh.
Well,
Wow.
I did just make friends with that person,
Oh,
but
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's okay.
but C was like, oh, and so C was learning about different hidden disabilities, and also I was spreading awareness on mental health as well.
Mhm.
And there was a Kahoot that talked about myths and facts on hidden disabilities. And one of the questions was, are you brave if you have a hidden disability?
Mhm.
And people were like, I think it was true or false. And the answer was false. False.
Mhm.
Because you're not, like, I know it's surprising. It's like,
Yeah, yeah,
you would think it would be true. And I
yeah.
actually one day during the weekly chat, we play Kahoot, the
Mhm.
one Kahoot, and I was like, oh, I forgot all about this Kahoot I made. Do you guys want to play it? And
Yeah.
that caught some people off guard, but other people caught on. It's
Mhm.
because you're not brave going through this. This is who you are. Like,
Some people think you have to be so sympathetic, and it's like, it's just, yeah, it is
yes,
just innately like who you are, and you just, yeah, I totally do understand what you're saying.
okay,
No, yeah, yeah, we're on the same page.
yes. So
That's
that was
cool.
yeah. So there was other stuff during the week, and that I think was just amazing. It was a really amazing experience.
Yeah, that's something that, like, I hope to experience in my life is having these conversations, like, in person because I'm kind of just on TikTok right now and also, YouTube. And it's really hard to you can't really physically see I can see profiles, but, like, it must be so, so rewarding just having one-on-one or sorry, not even one-on-one, like, group settings of these people who have hidden disabilities or physical disabilities, and just see them in person, connect with them. I think that's so, so cool and really fabulous that you've had all these opportunities to do that. So, I'm just so rooting for you because I think that's incredible. Is it also true you did do a TED Talk, is that correct?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, do you wanna, like, talk to us a teensy bit about that experience? Because I hope to do a TED Talk one day in my future.
Cool. So I talked about the importance of hope in community,
Okay.
to how community gives hope, and then the importance of having hope. That was a really interesting experience. I got to meet other people during that day doing TEDx talks, and it just was really cool hearing their stories. It was crazy preparing for it. I like prepared nonstop. Like I came to school like at 7 a.m. practice for an hour in the morning, and then during a free of mine, I would practice. It was just a really awesome experience, and the crowds were just really nice and supportive. And I can't wait to hear your TED Talk one
Oh
day.
my gosh. Thank you. Yeah, that's just so cool. Like I know I need like different describing words, but it's just so brilliant that this is like something that you have done at such a young age. You should be so proud of yourself because that's just really fantastic. Can you tell me a little bit about what it was like being at school and being like different and how you coped with that? Because I think both of our audiences are quite young and it can be hard to have that label of any sort of disability kind of attached to you at times.
When I was young, I always knew I was different, but I used to call it unique. I was unique, and I was always proud of being unique. But as you grow up, you kind of want to fit the mold. You want to be like everyone else.
So true.
And so I turned my apraxia into an enemy, and I pretended it didn't exist. And well, that didn't work out well for me.
Yeah.
for and the moment I turned my practice into a friend and not as this evil enemy, me, like making it the villain of my story, my whole life changed. Like young able voices started. Me meeting some incredible people, meeting you, and learning about different stories. Um, and so my advice would be nothing extraordinary happens if you're like everyone else. Being different is being who you are, and who you are is a gift. And you should feel proud of being who you are. And yes, it might take longer to make friends and stuff, but those connections you make by being who you are, those connections are stronger and more genuine, and they just last much longer than those fake connections.
That is so well said. I agree with you because for such a long time I hated being different and having learning disabilities. I was like, if there was a magical pill, I would take it in a heartbeat. But now as I've grown up and I've seen other people who are different and like embrace that uniqueness, whatever it may be, it's kind of like you don't want to be like everyone else because the world would be so boring and what would even we need different people to contribute all these different aspects to our world to make it, very vibrant and different. And that is who we are. We are those people who can provide a little bit of those differences and help others like us. So I think that's so great. And I would say exactly what you said as just try your best to be yourself, and it's okay if it is a struggle sometimes. So I like that. Do you find it challenging being a young individual advocating for disabilities? Because sometimes I've had like burnout or I just lose the spark to advocate. So I was wondering if you could speak up on that.
That is something I actually was going through recently.
Mhm.
So with young able voices, one of the reasons that one of my goals was to help me get into college. Maybe like stand out a little bit. It was not the main reason I started Young Able
No,
Voices, but
no,
it
I
was
get
like it was something like, oh, we realized like, oh. And so, and one of the things that I think why Young Able Voices works so well is because of my age. I am still young, and I can connect with the kids and stuff.
yeah.
Kids and teens, they don't want to talk to a 25-year-old old.
Nope.
So yeah, and I'm like, I'm going to be in college, and I thought that I would do maybe 1 year in college with young able voices, and then figure out like I can't. I sadly cannot reveal the business plans on YouTube. But I had this whole vision of creating a app in the middle of this year. I'm like, because one question I get is, can we message and have a group chat? And I'm like, yes, but I can't be a part of it because of liability issues.
Sure, yeah.
And I've talked to other companies and who work with hidden disabilities or disability, and they're like, yeah, would love a platform where we could connect, but liability issues.
Yeah.
And so that was one of my biggest dreams for a while, until a month or two ago I learned that someone created an app in Australia.
Mhm.
Yeah, and it's a very good
Yeah.
I think definitely should be well known and stuff. But stuff I checked it out and like, this is really good. And I was like, the money it costs right now to create an app, the time and competing against this amazing person who created this, like, I don't, at this point in time, I don't want to do that. And I hope this app gets no traction than it is right now. But so I was stuck. I was like, what is the future with young able voices? Because that was going to be the future of it.
Yeah.
And so I was stuck for a while, and I recently had a chat this week with someone at the Apraxia conference, and that chat helped me to realize I'm not done with young able voices. I don't want to be done anytime soon. I love chatting with these kids, weekly chats, and so I am right now in the middle of fixing up the plans with young able voices, and I'm very excited what comes in store. But I did have a small burnout. I was like, my energy wasn't in the weekly chats at one point. I took a week or two break, and then I'm back and stuff. So just revisiting plans, I want to say, is something that.
Yeah, I love that. It's just so relatable, and I'm really glad that we could have this like open conversation about that aspect because the pressure is so real, especially like we're so young, we have our whole entire lives ahead, but I'm such an overthinker. I'm like, no, like I need to have like these five different ideas in my brain happen right now, and I just don't want to even think about like, oh, I can save this aside for the future. It's just hard sometimes having all these ideas and like figuring out okay, like I'm 18, like let's just pump the brakes a little bit. But I have definitely ebbs and flows where I'm like, I'm so into advocating, and then I'm like, am I doing the right thing? I don't even know. Like, I just get very overwhelmed sometimes because I put so much pressure on myself. But I think it's good, like you said, to just kind of revisit, like, what is it actually that you want and like make it attainable. So I think that's good for like really anyone to listen and have that in the back of their mind. So yeah, thanks for
I
saying that.
Yeah, I also think what you're doing is amazing. And I know one thing that I constantly kind of forget is I'm still a teenager, what you said, 18. And like, people who are not my close friends, they don't get it. They don't
Yeah,
get the type of work we
so true. Hmm.
like, when I say, oh yeah, I'm busy on a Friday night, I'm like going to be chatting with kids, or I'm have a interview, or I have a discussion, someone I want to meet, they're like, what?
I know, yeah.
Like, I think, but I think we live such a cool life though.
Yeah, I agree.
It's,
I do like kind of have a different question that I didn't write down previously, but like, do the people at your school know that you do this? Because I think you said that they kind of do, right?
for high school, I went to a new high school, and so I did not share about my hidden disability for
Yeah.
about 2 years.
Okay.
Yes, I started sharing, I think, in my junior year to my classmates because I was afraid that they would think less than of me. I
Yeah.
thought they would think that my disability affects my intelligence. Junior year, when I started Young Able Voices, I shared my hidden disability with my classmates and stuff. And so many of them, it has been so supportive, and it also started new conversations and got to, and people who would have never come to me, who said, I would have never shared my story if
Mhm.
you started,
Yeah.
because I started a club at my school too, my junior year.
Oh, good for you.
So scary, but
Mhm.
they like, I would have never felt comfortable, and like now they are able to talk about it more openly and be the truest self.
Yeah, that's so awesome. It's just very inspiring to know that you can make such an impact. Even like, is your town small? Because I live in a quite a small area.
Yeah, I live in a small town.
Yeah, just like in a small little place, sometimes it's hard to like know that you can actually reach a lot of people. And I think that's awesome what you're doing. And just, yeah, just being very open about it because you are touching so many lives. Is that like a cool feeling to have? It must be, right?
Yes, but I don't think about it that much, because I'm
Yeah.
like, 'cause I had the mindset said for such a long time, like, who would want to hear me speak? Who would want my opinion? I'm so grateful for my mom to
Mhm.
push me to apply to speak at the Apraxia National Conference, because I
Yeah.
was real. Who No one wants to hear a 16 or 17-year-old speak. I was a bit wrong on that.
Yeah. What interventions have helped you grow the most with your speech journey, and were they a part of your school or outside in like a different clinic or both of them? And I think you touched on this previously, but I just wanted to know if you could elaborate a little bit.
Something with a childhood apraxia of speech, it is not very well
Mhm.
known as it should be.
Yeah.
And a lot of SOPs, it's only a small chapter in their studies, and they barely are tested on it. There's only like one question on their big test that they have to take. So many SLPs are not educated in.
Do you mind just saying what an SLP is? Sorry to interrupt
Oh,
you.
oh my God, I'm so sorry.
Okay.
A SLP is a speech language pathologist. So I never got specialized training in for apraxia in my public school or even in my private
Oh,
therapy. The most, but I am happy to say that started this month, I finally got specialized training
oh my
for,
gosh.
yeah, I am in like my third session with it. So I'm very excited, and I'm excited to see the improvements, hopefully.
Oh my
One thing, if I have to give advice, is go to speech therapy, and trust your speech therapist,
Mhm.
because they know what they are doing, especially if they are specialized in apraxia.
I totally agree. Like literally any sort of tutors that I had totally changed my life. And I think that's very similar to you is like with your therapy or any sort of tutoring. It's so necessary. Unfortunately, like it's not super accessible right now, but I hope when we grow up, it does become a little bit more accessible to have. What advice would you give to someone who has a hidden disability or thinks they have a hidden disability and is nervous to open up about it?
Advice that I would give to someone who thinks they have a hidden disability, I would go to a trusted adult. I know that sometimes the parents cannot be the most accepting to a hidden disability or
Yeah.
any learning disability.
Mhm.
And so I would say maybe go to your teacher if you think you might have one, because your teachers, even though parents know us best, our teachers know how we learn best. Hopefully they do. And so they
I
can be like, oh,
do.
I can see that. So talk to them. The sooner you get checked out, and if there is something, the sooner you can get help and go get on that accepting journey.
I agree. If you keep it bottled up, like no one's gonna know that you're struggling, so they can't help you out. But if you talk about it openly, then someone can help you out. And my very last question for you is what's next? This could be with your advocacy or just in your day-to-day life.
What's next for me is college. I am planning to go to Rider University in New Jersey. I earned a full academic scholarship there. So I am really excited about that. And with Young Able Voices, I'm still in the works on that, but coming in a few weeks, there are going to be some new types of content.
I'm
So
excited.
yeah,
That's awesome. Yay. Well, I just want to say a huge thank you for coming on and sharing your story. It was lovely to connect with you, and to the audience listening, to follow along Alina's journey or participate in the weekly Zoom calls. You are still doing that, is that correct?
yes,
Okay,
yeah.
perfect. You can visit www.youngablevoices.com, and her whole disability story is on there, her journey, as well as, the link to click on and to sign up for the Zoom calls. And then, do you mind if I say your email so that
Oh,
they
yeah.
can? Okay, so her email is alina@youngablevoices.com. And if you have any sort of questions, I think that she would love to answer them. And yeah, she's just such a true change maker, and she's gonna go so far in life. I just know it.
Oh, and I just want to say thank you for what you're doing. Like I love looking at your videos and your recent one about Clark. Like that is, I think that is just so valuable for kids and teens. And I just for real, like you deserve a big round of applause for what you're
Thank
doing.
you so much. Oh my gosh.